It's
We
getting
love hip
crazy
hop.
behind the wall as Toronto's eighth side this year come from behind the walls of the Toronto South Detention Center. A man, 27 years old, got into a fight on range on March 24th and succumbed to his injuries on March 27th when he was pronounced dead in the Toronto South Detention. And the man who was in the assault with him, charges went from assault to homicide. We're going to get into this whole thing. But before we get into that, make sure to hit that like button. Comment below and let me know what you think about this crazy story, and subscribe and hit that notification bell so you know when we're dropping new videos. Now I'm going to pull up an article courtesy of the Toronto Star where they break down the whole incident over here. So from what it says here, a Toronto South Detention inmate is being charged in connection in the death of another inmate. Toronto police responded to an assault call at the center just after 6 p.m. on March 24th, investigators said in a news release. Mangok A.W.O.L, a 27-year-old man from Toronto, was assaulted by another inmate and taken to hospital in critical conditions, officers said. He died from his injuries on March 27, becoming Toronto's eighth homicide victim of this year. And here's a picture of the gentleman right here, RIP. Now it says here, Andre Ford, a 32-year-old man from Toronto, was charged with the aggravated assault, but police say his charges will be upgraded to second-degree murder. And that's all pretty much what they have from the article right now. Now, they don't give any more details on exactly what went down, like if if he got stabbed on range, if it was just like fist to fist type of fight. As somebody who's had experience behind the wall, I have seen these incidents happen. When I was away back in 2010, that was when there was a homicide incident that happened on one of the ranges in the Don jail. And at that time, it was an incident where the whole range rushed one man. They started stomping on the guy. And I don't know if the intentions when it comes to these types of things is to murder somebody, but everybody ended up stomping this guy out. He sustained some head injuries, and a few days later, same thing with this gentleman right here. He ended up passing away. The people on range, like a lot of people ended up getting their charges upgraded. A lot of people ended up getting charges who, weren't charged originally. So when it comes to stuff like this, it gets pretty sticky behind the wall. Another thing that this gives me a commentary on when I look at something like this is, just the whole bunch of incidents where I speak to different guests who've been inside and they talk about the conditions that have been happening inside the jail. I just did a news story yesterday where we were talking about the guards and how they are allegedly getting revenge on the inmates over there in the Maplehurst Detention Center. But over here in the South Detention, we've been hearing different incidents of 3 to 4 in a cell. There's been a massive lack of staffing or understaffing that's been going on that helps to exacerbate the problem with the inmates when you don't have enough guards to be able to monitor all the inmates from range to range. I know they built this Toronto South Detention as a deterrent from the different style of jail that they had with the Don jail, which was a more of a elongated tier system to the one that they have now, which is a more octagon system, and it's supposed to keep people safe. And in all actuality, it's the responsibility of the Ontario government or the Canadian government to make sure that all inmates are safe when they're in custody. But, this is jail. Shit happens in jail. A lot of fights happen in jail. We're not going to act like that doesn't happen. So sometimes these fights can end up from being massive injuries to death, like we see over here with this gentleman right here. As far as this gentleman's associations with any rappers in town or out of town, okay, there's just, rumors that have been moving around on the Reddit, but we won't mention that. Okay. I want to give a RIP to this gentleman right here, Mangok A.W.O.L, and condolences to his family. I know nobody wants to hear about any of their siblings or their son or anybody in jail. But it gets even worse when you hear that you have somebody who's incarcerated and passes away while they're incarcerated. Okay, so RIP to this young gentleman right here. And let me know in the comments below what you think about this incident right here. If you know anybody else who's dealt with any types of, incidents that happen in jail where it's a brutal beating or somebody who's sustained major injuries, or even if you know somebody who's passed away due to injuries that has happened behind the wall. Okay, that's all we got for the news today. Make sure to hit that like button on the way out. Subscribe if you're dissing. All right, hit that subscribe button and make sure to put the notifications on so you know when we're dropping new videos. It's another We Love Hip Hop news, and we are off of this. Deuces.
We love hip hop.